The night he found them, the rain was falling like it was trying to wash the world clean of something ugly. The single garage light flickered weakly, buzzing over cracked concrete and oil stains, when he noticed two shapes huddled against the cold metal door. A woman, bruised and barely conscious, wrapped her arms around a little girl whose face was streaked with dirt and fear. They looked broken, abandoned, and forgotten by the world. He had no idea that this moment, this single act of stopping instead of driving away, would shatter everything he thought he knew about poverty, power, and what it truly meant to be rich. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that one small act can change lives forever, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that touch the heart. He was a poor single dad, a man worn thin by life and responsibility. His hands were rough from long hours repairing engines, his back permanently stiff from bending under cars that didn't belong to him. Every night he worried about keeping the lights on for his own young son sleeping inside the tiny house behind the garage. Life had not been gentle with him since his wife passed away years earlier, leaving him to juggle grief, fatherhood, and survival. Still, something inside him refused to let those two figures remain in the rain. He wrapped his jacket around the woman, lifted the trembling child into his arms, and brought them inside without asking a single question. The woman's injuries told a silent story of violence and desperation. Purple bruises marked her arms and face, and her movements were slow, as if every breath hurt. The little girl clung to him with surprising strength, her fingers digging into his shirt like he was the last solid thing in a collapsing world. He cleaned their wounds with what little he had, warmed soup on an old stove, and gave them blankets that smelled faintly of oil and home. He did not know who they were, only that they needed help, and that was enough for him. Days passed, and the garage became something different. It was no longer just a place of grease and broken machines, but a fragile shelter where fear slowly loosened its grip. The woman began to regain her strength, and the child started to smile again, especially when playing with his son, who shared his toys without hesitation. Watching them together filled him with a strange mix of pain and warmth, reminding him of the family he had lost and the one he was unexpectedly protecting. Yet shadows lingered behind the woman's eyes, and at night she would wake shaking, as if running from memories that refused to stay buried. The truth began to surface not through words, but through fear. Black vehicles were sometimes seen at the end of the road, slowing down, watching. The woman grew tense whenever engines rumbled outside, her body stiffening like prey sensing a predator. Eventually, the weight of secrecy became unbearable. He learned that she and her daughter were not simply victims of random cruelty. They were heirs to an enormous oil empire, wealth so vast it could buy silence, loyalty, and violence. Her husband, a powerful man obsessed with control, had nearly killed her when she tried to leave, determined to protect her child from a future built on blood and fear. The revelation hit him like a punch to the chest. He had nothing to offer against such power, no money, no influence, no army of lawyers. All he had was a small garage, a broken heart, and a stubborn sense of right and wrong. Fear crept in, whispering that helping them could cost him everything, including his son. But when he looked at the little girl sleeping peacefully beside his child, the fear hardened into resolve. Some things were worth more than safety. The struggle that followed tested him in ways he never imagined. Threats came disguised as warnings, pressure as polite concern. Offers of money were made, enough to change his life forever, if only he would step aside and forget what he had seen. Each time, he refused, choosing dignity over comfort. He taught his children, his son and the girl he had come to love like his own, that doing the right thing often meant standing alone. The garage became a quiet battleground, where integrity faced off against power. As weeks turned into months, cracks formed in the empire chasing them. Evidence surfaced, allies appeared where none were expected, and the woman found her voice again, strengthened by the safety he provided and the example he set. Legal forces began to move, slowly but surely, and the man who once seemed untouchable started to lose his grip. Through it all, the single dad remained steady, waking before dawn to work, tucking children into bed at night, and trusting that kindness was not weakness. When the storm finally broke, it did so quietly. Protection arrived, justice followed, and the danger receded like a bad dream at sunrise. The woman and her daughter were safe, not because of wealth or power, but because someone without either chose to care. The oil empire remained, but it no longer owned their lives. In the end, the woman did not forget the man who saved them when they were nothing more than shadows in the rain. She ensured his son would never want for opportunity, not as charity, but as family. The garage still stands, modest and worn, but inside it lives a story greater than gold. A story of a poor single dad who proved that true richness is measured by courage, compassion, and the willingness to protect the vulnerable, even when the world tells you to look away. Before this story ends, take a moment and comment below. Tell us where you're watching from and whether you believe one act of kindness can really change a destiny. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel something real, please like, share, and comment to help it reach others who need hope. Your engagement keeps stories like this alive, reminding the world that humanity still matters, and that even in the darkest rain, a single light can guide the way.